Welcome to tonight's WPCA final meeting of 2020, Wednesday, December 9th. Unless there are any proposed changes to tonight's agenda, we will proceed as published. First item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the October 28th, 2020 meeting minutes. You may recall we did not have a meeting in November.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Jerry to approve.
I'll second it.
Joe is a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Quinn says aye. I just joined. Quinn says aye.
Oh, great. Quinn, welcome. Quinn, Jerry, Joe, Christian, and Mark, all in favor. Next item on tonight's agenda, new business. First item, consider and act on electing officers of the WPCA for the year 2021. Want to say that those positions are, in my opinion, wide open. If anyone would like to step up, it's a great opportunity to do service.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that we reappoint Mark Elliotson to be the chair.
I'll second.
This is Christian. I'll second that motion.
Check it out a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Quinn, aye.
Great. Vice Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to reappoint Joe D'Avanzo as Vice Chairman. There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Looks to be
Aye.
unanimous. Thank you. Next item, discussion on setting proposed WPCA meeting dates for 2021. Any comments to the dates that Chris has put forward?
No.
Matt has joined. Matt, welcome to the commission. I just saw your face pop up. There you go. Can you hear us? Our newest member. Okay, well, Matt sorts out his audio. Any proposed changes to the meeting dates?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting dates as proposed.
Second?
This is Quinn. I'll second.
Thank you, Quinn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matt, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I just got audio now. Sorry, I was having
Terrific.
some technical difficulties.
Matt, my first order of business was to welcome you to the commission. You have deep experience in this subject matter, and we'll put that to immediate use. I'm certain. So it's good to have you on board. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Service. The next item is discussion on the RFP results for the East Trunk Wetland Crossing. I'm gonna suggest we keep this somewhat abbreviated, as there have been 4 RFP responses. The acting interim head of public works is not on the Zoom meeting tonight. And I think it sounds like the department is still reviewing those, and will be setting up a Zoom meeting with each of the 4 respondents to the RFP. You're all welcome to Chris is spearheading that. They will set the dates, and if anyone would like to Zoom into that, I would encourage it. I personally would like to attend. There's a few firms that we have not worked with who have responded, and as we know, that's a critically important project. That's the pipe that is adjacent to the Metro Center that goes through the marsh wetlands. So I would imagine, and the RFP responses they've been published. I encourage you to read them. Obviously, a lot of thought went into those, and as we begin that process, we will have dates. Chris, do you think sometime in January?
Actually, we were hoping sooner.
Okay.
So we'll see when we can get them to present and do their presentation. So
Okay.
it could very well be sooner. Yes.
Okay, so if you're interested in sitting in on those, there'll probably be a 30-minute or so presentation from each of the respondents. Feel free to send a note to Chris and do me a favor and CC me, so I know who's going.
When is that, Mark?
That'll be over the course of the next few weeks.
Okay.
Okay, but
Chris,
Matt,
do you expect those to be, sorry to interrupt, Mark. Chris, this is Christian. Do you expect those to be during the day or during the evening?
Most likely it'll be during the day. It depends on when the engineers are, available to make their presentation. So.
Okay. Then you just to clarify, you'll send out a time and dates for
Yep.
those?
Correct. As soon as I get the confirmation from them, I'll send everybody, a notification of when they're going to be posted. So.
Great, thank you.
okay. The next item is a discussion on the bid for the Fairfield Beach outfall repair. Chris, do you or Bill want to take us through that quick summary?
I can give you a quick scenario of it. So we received, GHD did the review and signed on the document. The document's bid ready. It's actually in purchasing now. They're preparing the front end document for the bid. So it's ready to go. We just need approval to move forward on it. And we can get that. Now we have funding until, there was a $74,000 grant that we have for that. And that grant expires in June 30th of 2021. So, it's kind of time sensitive to get this, approved.
Okay.
What we're going to do is put it out to bid, and then once we get the bid results, we would have to go through, for funding on it.
Okay. Bill, do you want to take us through the engineering agreement approval that has apparently come back in record time from the Connecticut Deep on the upgrade?
Yes, well, that was a scope of services for the design phase for the upgrade of the wastewater treatment facility. So we're waiting on that, and I think we're probably going to see what John has to say. He's got some thoughts on this, so we're probably going to defer to him till he gets, up to speed a little bit, and see what his ideology is about, how he would like to proceed.
Makes sense. Speaking of John, can you give the commission and those who are zooming in from home just a general overview of what's the department reporting mechanism right now? I should mention to the commission, after the last interim head of the Department of Public Works was removed, Joe and I had a call with the department to review the projects that were underway. I think Nancy joined us as well as the basic process for things such as approving checks, and that was all kind of a work in progress. Can you tell us where we stand now? How's that working out for the department?
Well, we met with John yesterday and went over, I would say, a majority of the projects, told him where everything was standing, and he kind of just absorbed most of the information to try to get his hands around everything for right now. He did sign, Chris, he signed a couple of the change orders and an invoice, I think, from True Blue.
Yeah, there were two pay requisitions that were submitted. So.
Okay. So we'll go through each one of those projects tonight. It's later on in the evening on the agenda. Okay, let's segue into section 4, old business. We have first on tonight's agenda the Carriage Drive project. Who's got the background noise? Call-in user 7.
Yeah, that's
Probably
me. That's
Cinto.
Chris DeAngelis. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. If I could screen share, I can bring up the plans, and we put a couple of notes on the plans to discuss tonight. The screen share would be through my PC. I think it's under DeAngelis PC or Chris DeAngelis PC. And let's see. All right. Is it sharing?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so this is what we presented to the commission last week. Just as a reminder, I'm a civil engineer. I was hired by Mr. Tim Warren, who lives in this house here. This is number 20, I believe it's 24 Carriage Drive. Currently, these houses are on septic. There was a new subdivision. The road is called Southport Terrace that has septic. That has public sewer, although the public sewer ends right about here at this existing manhole. So I put together two options for them. The first would be a conventional sanitary sewer down the center of Carriage Drive, proceeding, northerly all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac. And this would allow all the houses on the street, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses on Carriage Drive, to be able to connect to the new sewer via gravity. And we get a nice, if you can see the profile, we get a nice 1% slope on the sanitary sewer. We looked at a second option, which would involve extending the new sewer line that was put in Southport Terrace, extending it westerly to the intersection with Carriage Drive, and then putting a lateral to the north to the end of the cul-de-sac, and then to the south down towards this is Mill Hill on the other side, Mill Hill Terrace, I believe. The disadvantage to this, there's two disadvantages. First of all, this one house here, number 29, Carriage Drive, would not be able to connect via gravity. And that is because we're kind of going against the grade. You can see that our pipe is going uphill while the grade is coming downhill. And we're at a very, the second disadvantage is because of that, we have a very shallow slope on the pipe, only 1/2 of 1%. So this is not as good a solution, but it's a little bit less expensive. We met out on the site with Chris Rogers.
Hold on a second. Chris, do you have the ability of muting the call-in user 7?
Yeah, let me see who's on.
I think that's myself, but I don't think the background noise is here.
Okay.
Am I calling user 7?
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's quiet here. There is no background.
Well, maybe try muting everyone, and then
Yeah.
and Chris unmute.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. I believe it's
Okay.
good now.
All right, so you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I met with Chris Rogers and Brian a few weeks ago after the last meeting. Chris Rogers came up with the idea of potentially the town putting in the sewer line. This is the sewer piece from the new manhole at the end of the public sewer in Southport Terrace. So that's this existing manhole here, and running about 200 feet westerly towards the intersection with Carriage Drive. What Chris had suggested is, in order to get a better pitch on the pipe and keep it shallower, is to increase the slope on the pipe and put a new manhole for the residents to connect up to. They would have to connect up to this with force mains. So each individual homeowner would have to connect to this new manhole via force main. There may be 1 or 2 houses that can connect via gravity, but we would have to check that. So I believe that's what's on the table tonight. I would suggest that if the town is going to put in this line, that we keep it deeper, we keep it at a very shallow slope. Maybe in the future, the neighbors can get together and, you know, pay for an extension of the sanitary lateral, you know, via gravity, you know, one way or the other. Maybe these three neighbors can get together and pay for the gravity southerly, the gravity line southerly, and that will avoid them having to pump. So that's what's on the table tonight to discuss is whether or not the town wants to do this extension, 200-foot extension in Southport Terrace, number one. And number two, if you do the extension, whether you do it at a steep slope and keep it shallow, which forces the residents to pump, or whether you do it at a very you know, narrow, very shallow pitch, and which will allow some of the residents to connect via gravity.
Okay, so to frame the conversation, there's not a decision that's to be made tonight. It's more we're exploring the options relative to this request, and let's see who has any questions or comments. Jerry.
Question. Didn't we explore the cost of this versus the reward, the value of it 2 months ago when we were going through this?
Yeah, so the initial discussion was really twofold. One, feasibility and optionality, and then the subsequent conversation that is, I would say, nascent is the expense and who pays for it. So we're in my mind, we're still discussing feasibility and optionality. Clearly, this is a benefit for the homeowners, and it's an expense that they will need to bear. There may be some ability we have to help them finance it, but the 30% of the town is on septic, and would love for, I know that many neighborhoods would love the town to come in and run the infrastructure. That's just not something that we have in our budget. So why don't we continue to focus on what the options may be, and we'll leave it to the homeowners to see if they have the appetite to absorb the cost.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me just make sure I'm clear on what you're asking for. So I'll go back to my client and ask him to come back with some definitive answer as far as how many people are willing to connect, what they're willing to pay to connect, whether they're connecting via gravity or via pumping. I'll try to get something.
Chris, let me interrupt you for a second and go to Joe, who has some thoughts on.
Yeah, Chris, just a quick one. I prefer, rather than you going through your client, we haven't heard of any of the other, well, we've heard the one furthest down on the end, he is not going to hook up at this point because his septic is fine. Would it be possible to propose that the other four homeowners come to the next time we have a presentation? Or log in, obviously. It probably won't be a in-person meeting. I'd rather hear from them directly than have you go through your client and hearing it hearsay for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We should hear from them directly. So far, I've only had discussions with the owner of this property.
Right.
Which is 63 Carriage Drive, Tim Warren. I did speak when Chris Rogers and I were out there last week. The owner of this property came over after our meeting, and he said he was also interested in hearing more about it. So I think he would probably get online. The other three neighbors, so there's three others besides the guy at the end of the street who is not interested in connecting because he just put in a new septic field. But I think at least two, maybe three of the residents, I'll let my client Tim Warren, do the work to get them to join in. I'll get back to you. I'll just communicate with Chris Rogers how many people we can get at the next agenda, on the next agenda in January or whenever.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shy about sharing the cost, of doing this. We're easily in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think it would make economically quite a bit more sense if there were 10 or 20 or 30 homes tapping into this.
Right.
And I haven't quite figured out, if we allocate this over time, what happens if the home is sold, or if someone then decides that they don't want to tap in. There's a whole host of issues which I'm not shying away from, but they need to be put out there that they're somewhat sizable in nature.
Right,
As we
right.
know, it costs a lot of money to lay pipe.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I'll work with my client to get some more, interest from the neighbors, and if they can show interest, then hopefully they'll be willing to join the next meeting, and we'll talk again in January, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was a good
I
suggestion.
just have one comment, Chris. At our meeting, we discussed that you were going to try to get some quotes from contractors to present as far as what the cost would be for this. I don't know if that's happened or if you're in the process of it or not, but it might be helpful for the next meeting as far as having a cost analysis.
Okay. Yeah. I made a couple of phone calls. I was going to meet with Fucci. I can't remember. But I'll get some for the next meeting. That would be helpful. Petrucci, DJ Petrucci. That's the guy I spoke to.
Okay. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. See you soon.
Thank you.
Next item on tonight's agenda is the continuing discussion relative to 15 Umpqua Road. Let's see, who's here? Is that Dr. Lee I saw before? Yes.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Chair. It's Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I also have Edwards, who's going to do the main presentation with you. I just wanted to start off in the beginning, just to let you know, since we last saw you, we have met with zoning, and there's been an adjustment to this project. The zoning had wanted a greater balance of commercial to residential for this project. So we've gone back to the drawing board. We've had changes in engineering that Jason Edwards will show you, but I just wanted the board to know that the actual composition of the project, it's going to be the same retail area, 4,000 square feet of retail along Umpqua Road on the first level. But now on the second floor, on the Umpqua Road side of the project, there's going to be a little over 5,000 square feet of office. And so that's going to boost the amount of commercial on the overall project. And the bedroom count is getting reduced down to 44. So there's been a rebalancing on the project per our conversations with zoning. And then there's also been changes with regards to engineering that I'll turn it over to Jason Edwards that he can walk you through. But I just wanted to give you some background at what project is coming forward now.
Right. Chris, remind us, how many bedrooms before? That's really what we're focused.
Jason, do you know what it was when we last presented? I'm not sure what it's. Originally, this was 40 apartments. This project's been through so many different iterations. Originally, it was 40 apartments that were mostly 2 bedrooms. Yeah. When we presented it to you, I can't remember the exact number that it was at.
I'm going to pull it up.
It's probably another 8
1 second
or so, probably.
Yeah, something around there, another 8 or so. So the portion of the second floor that was apartments is now, it's about 5,000 square feet that has been turned into office instead of being apartments. I just can't remember what the bedroom difference is.
Gary,
and I'll try to see if I can get that while Jason's talking.
The discussions with zoning, what were they? I mean, just basically discussions with Jim Wendt, or did you go before the TPZ already?
It was with Jim Went and Emmeline from zoning, and we were talking about the planning and zoning had done a TOD study, a transit oriented development study recently, and that looked for mixed use developments, which obviously the project we previously showed you was mixed use, but there was just some thought that ours was a little bit too skewed towards residential, and to find a way to up the commercial side of it. So that was the impetus for adding the office, which I think makes the project about 20% commercial and 80% residential.
Okay.
But Jason, if you want to, because there's also been big changes to the engineering. So Jason, if you want to take over and talk about that, would be great.
Hi, Jason Edwards, J. Edwards and Associates, Engineers, Surveyors. Can I share my screen here, Chris?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Let's see, where are you? Nothing popped up. Where are you? There you are.
I'm trying to find my.
Okay. Should be up now.
That's not what I wanted. Hang on a second, I'm sorry. Okay, can everyone see that plan?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so back in earlier this year, we had proposed this project, and we had initially proposed to basically just tie into the existing sewer out here in Sanford Drive or Street. That sewer line flows down into the post road and currently flows around through an 8-inch pipe that goes all the way down to the intersection of Uncua, crosses over the street, then flows all the way back down the post road to Reef Road, and then continues down out Reef Road, all of that being an 8-inch pipe. We used existing flow analysis from EST for other projects and did some analysis of our own, and the commission determined that what we were going to be adding would flow to the project was going to exceed the capacity best engineering practices for that 8-inch line. So we then came back and presented basically two concepts to cross the post road and alleviate the backlog or the bottleneck on the 8-inch line that goes around this long loop. Concept A was the blue line, which was the preferred concept, which basically jumped straight across from here to here. Concept B was to continue down farther on the post road, cut across, and then come back down. The major hurdle here is obviously all the utilities in the post road. Mainly the major utility here is the 345 kV line, which is kind of the bottom of the utilities, I guess you'd say. It's lower than everything else, and it's obviously huge and difficult to get around. So we went and excavated in 2 locations along that 345 kV line to try and establish a depth. Concept A location, we determined that we could not make it underneath the 345 kV with gravity and get into the existing sewer line on the other side. It may have made it, but it's going to be too close for Eversource safety standards. They want a minimum, I think, of 18 inches separation, so we weren't going to make that. So we also excavated over here at our crossing where we're showing this proposed plan now, and we found adequate clearance below the 345 kV. So we have prepared, I guess you'd call it in this phase, it's still a concept design, but it is a feasible concept design. We've done enough research on these existing utilities to determine that we are underneath them and that we also have sufficient clearance under the 345 kV, and we can make it with gravity, at minimum pitches all the way around. You'll see in our plan and profile that, we are down almost, from 5, we're like 10 to 12 feet down below the surface, at the main majority of the crossing of the road. So that is basically the extent of what we're proposing at this time. We feel that will help solve a big problem for the town in that you currently have this bottleneck of an 8-inch line that goes all the way around here. This 10-inch line would alleviate that, that bottleneck to a great degree and provide a cleaner and better outlet for the effluent coming from that direction. And I think that's essentially the scope of the project at this point. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have we monitored, have we done an analysis on the Sanford pipe?
Yes, they did flow data, or we had provided flow data from Sanford Street up. They have.
Okay.
The data they do not have, which they would still need to do flow monitoring, is from Reef Road to basically Oldfield Road. So that section still needs to be analyzed to make sure that we can handle the additional capacity. I had a phone call today with Jason and Larry regarding this, and some of my comments were that reviewing the plan, there's 14 test holes. Actually, I came up with another one that needs to be done. So we'll count 15 test holes that need to be done to verify elevations for the utilities. This is only a conceptual drawing showing that they can make it work, but they would have to get DOT approval based on this plan. Once the conceptual drawing is approved, they would have to come back to us and present a full-blown approved plan based on DOT approval. The DOT will not let them do test pits in the road until after April 15th. Any road work right now, unless it's an emergency, they will not let, the asphalt plants are closing. It takes about almost a month and a half to 2 months to get a DOT approval permit. So that's a process that's going to have to take place now. They also have to do flow monitoring. So, that's something that they can also get started in the process of as well.
And Chris Russo, I think if you can maybe chime in on this too, but this is Jason Edwards again. I think what we're looking for at this stage is approval of our concept so that we can move forward to our planning and zoning and the other agencies that we have to submit to. We would take as a condition of approval that we have to come back for, with DOT permits and then final approval by WPCA of our plan. But we do think our concept works.
Yeah, and just to echo what Jason is saying, our hope is if we get approval on this concept to proceed to P&Z, and then obviously during that P&Z process, there's a referral out to WPCA and asking for comments. And I talked with Chris today, and those comments would obviously say that we would have to come back for approval of a final plan. And so our approval would be, if we were to gain an approval on planning and zoning, would be conditioned on, the test pits, the flow monitoring, and getting a final approved plan from the WPCA.
I got a question.
Jerry.
And this happened before I was on this commission, but I did approve, I think it's like 150 to 200 apartments up the street at the time, and aren't they feeding into this pipe here?
They're feeding into the kind of the front of the down.
Okay, so when we approved that, I remember we knocked down, I think it was like 40 apartments. We took off that project that already had approval for WPCA, if I'm not mistaken. So, all right.
That project
was the Knights of Columbus building.
Right. And that we handled that project as well. And that was originally, Commissioner Alessi, that originally was 119 units. And I believe we did get approval from WPCA for that. And we went down to 90. 90 is what is being built right now.
So, I mean, WPCA gave an approval for 30 more apartments on that building up there. So why are we having such problems on this one here if we're only talking 10 more apartments?
Because we added, and there was another project that came in between for 78 Umpqua Place for, I believe it's 40 units.
40 units at Umpqua Place. Yes.
Jeremy, I don't know why we're revisiting a decision that was made.
No, it's not that. It's just that I'm just trying to understand the history of this line because of what was coming through before. That's all.
Yeah, I think if we had known about future development on this site, we would have taken a more holistic approach to that development and the replacement of that pipe.
Umpqua Place is 26 units, by the way, not 40 something units.
Wait, are we talking about this proposal?
No, Umpqua Place that was mentioned in the prior conversation. I believe it's 26 units. That were
Okay,
approved.
the one just adjacent to the train station?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I think we're also going to see a lot more development coming down the pike in this area in the next few years, too.
well, I think if we knew that, then we'd say, let's replace the pipe on the front of the property. Just then a question of who pays for that. So, I'm not well versed in if planning and zoning will take action on a conditional plan with WPCA. We've my years on the commission, we've never seen that. I'm not adverse to it, but I just I'm not familiar with the protocol.
TPZ wouldn't approve anything without WPCA's approval anyway. I mean, it'd be a conditional approval, if anything.
Yeah, we usually have we do have approvals that are conditioned on WPCA. I believe, Chris, I believe you talked with Jim Went, and he said we could move forward with our planning and zoning application if we were to receive an approval tonight for this conceptual plan.
Yeah.
Conceptually, this is like a much better plan this way here.
Comments or questions?
Is this just for discussion or is this up for approval tonight?
There's not been a motion made. I wasn't aware that this was.
I think it's on the agenda as discussion only, I think, but
I wasn't aware that decision was expected.
I was looking for approval if we could get approval. I'm looking to move ahead on this project.
if we need to take until our next meeting, like what are the, if we are not able to come to a vote tonight, what happens in terms of the timing and setting us back? What does that look like?
Chris, are they allowed to do test pits and everything in the meantime if we don't get approval? I mean, does this get stalled or does it keep moving forward?
The state will not let them do test pits road until April 15th.
Chris, you totally, sorry, say that again. Your first part of your answer cut out.
Yep, sorry. The state will not let them do test pits in the road until after April 15th. They have to get a DOT permit, which takes a couple months to do. Once they get that to DOT approval, then they can do their test pits, but the state won't let them open the road until after April 15th.
So meaning if we don't vote on it tonight, it gets delayed. Otherwise, they could start when?
Well,
I'm just wondering what delaying to the next meeting and what delaying a vote till next meeting does in terms of the overall pushback. If we don't vote tonight and then all of a sudden now we're looking at April, voting tonight would mean what?
Well, it would delay their process to submit to planning and zoning, but it wouldn't per se just delay anything on our end, on the WPCA end, because they still have work to do on the plan.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just, sorry, I guess I'm confused. So you just said that we delay until April if we don't have a vote tonight.
Well, they can't do any test pits on it.
That's not what he said.
Until April. Yeah.
Sorry, if you could clarify then, if I'm not understanding what delaying.
So by
Someone just muttered.
It's just going to delay them for planning and zoning. So they really have to get, this is only a conceptual plan that they're presenting tonight to show that this can work. To get full WPCA approval, they have more work to do. They have to do test pits and more flow monitoring.
Mark, if I may.
Please.
Sure.
We could pretty much, in order to think, I mean, because we keep on getting this project, it seems like, move this along. If we were to approve this concept and keep it conditional based on the test that we still have to run after 15th, which can get TPZ started in the meanwhile, in the meantime as well, and nothing can have a final approval anyway until after the tests are done, you know, between April and May or June or whatever that is anyway.
Thank you, Jerry. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I think conceptually that's simple and straightforward. I think the potential blowback is we get into the April-May timeframe and we find out that running this pipe or doing this work is extremely difficult and extremely expensive, and the applicant has expended additional dollars in TPZ, and we're looking at each other in terms of, who's going to pay for it and how soon can it get done, and is one issue. The second issue I have is we've never approved anything conceptually, and is that precedent setting? It would. It's not something I'm personally comfortable in doing, but I'm not. I'm one vote of 8.
Well, Joe's really good at this, but
in crafting a motion.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Approval based on whatever Joe feels deemable, because he does this for a while. I've learned.
So one of the
I could craft a motion if that's what the commission wants.
One of the other conditions we were talking about was downstream flow monitoring, right?
That's one of them. The DOT approval, the flow monitoring, and the utility acceptance were the 3 I heard.
So what's the time frame on the flow monitoring? I mean, can we get started on that? Obviously, we have to wait until April for the test pits.
It sounds like your question, Chris Rogers.
Yes, we can. They can start doing the flow monitoring. We have to get 2 half-inch rain events for the flow monitoring. So now is the time, you can start that. So it depends on, we could be a month or 2 or 3 months in, before we get final results for the flow monitoring. So.
Christian, Quinn? Thoughts, questions? I can't see everyone, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Forrest. I'm trying to move my project forward, and I need to to go to P&Z and try to get some approvals there. If I'm going to continue to put money out for all this testing and pits, and I mean I'm already tens of thousands of dollars into this project, and I'm just trying to move my approvals forward. So. I'm on a timeline.
Yeah, I absolutely get that, and it's in our spirit to be cooperative. But what happens if you invest 3 or 4 months on the planning and zoning side, in those studies and plans and so forth, and then we get to May and we find out that in order to do this work under Post Road, the cost is $1 million. Are we doing you a disservice by giving you a conditional approval?
Well, Chair, I can respond to that. We actually have the plans ready for P&Z. So that cost has already been expended. So we are ready once, if we get a positive referral from this board, to go right to P&Z and have everything for it. So we're hoping to get that approval, so we know on the zoning end that we're approved, and then Dr. Forrest can feel comfortable in spending the money to do the test pits and the flow monitoring and the costs with getting this plan, the final approval for this plan. So we're ready to go for planning and zoning.
All right. Joe, do you want to craft a motion?
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to provide conditional approval to accept the concept as presented on 12/9/2020 to WPCA Commission to replace the 8-inch pipe with a 10-inch pipe from Stanford Street to Reef Road, subject to DOT approval and permits, additional flow analysis and test, and the agreement from the utilities that is a valid plan. Sorry. Chris Rogers, did I cover everything?
Yeah, can I just add, I would put the date of December 4th, 2020 for the plan on in the wording.
I think I'd make one change too, Joe.
To the WPC on 12/4. Got it.
Joe, this is Bill. Can you hear me? I think I'd make one change too, is that we're not replacing any 8-inch line. We're adding a 10-inch line.
Okay. I'll strike that, and the minutes will show to.
That's correct, right, Chris?
Yes, correct. Installing a new 10-inch line.
Okay,
from Stanford Street.
New 10-inch section of line.
Okay, the minutes will show that. I also edit the minutes, so I will make that change from replace the 8-inch line to install a 10-inch line.
Okay. Is there a second? Nancy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Quinn, are you there? Quinn, I think we lost. Matt, were you yay or nay? Yay. I'll go yay as well. So that's unanimous. Okay. Onward and upward. Good luck.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for the time and consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
Merry
Next
Christmas.
item on tonight's agenda under old business. I believe we have the Cinto team here to discuss 185 Thorpe Street. There's Rob, our friend. Where are you? Is
Joe Breyer is on also, Mark.
Joe on?
Rob's just missing us as a committee.
Right.
You miss Rob.
I miss it too. I don't know why I joined the fire. No, I'm kidding. I love the fire. I miss you guys dearly.
Yeah.
They don't have as much fun as we do, I can assure you.
Yeah.
I know that.
What's the status? What's going on?
So at the last meeting, we left it that we were going to televise the sewer line, the 21-inch sewer running from the site towards Ruane Street. And so we've done that. And we put together a PDF that I believe Chris circulated to everybody that kind of summarized our findings. So if you don't mind, Chris, can I share my screen for that?
Yep.
Shared the video as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what we did, or what was done, is the sewer line from Ruane was televised. Can you guys see my cursor here?
Sure can.
Okay.
Yep.
So in green is what was televised. So we started at Ruane, went up to this manhole, then went beyond that manhole, past the stream, passed onto our property, and about 30 feet beyond the doghouse manhole that we're supposed to connect to, which is the doghouse is here. and they were able to go 30 feet beyond it and then stop because that was the point. We wanted to see what kind of condition this pipe was in. So this is a 21-inch existing clay pipe. It appeared to be in good condition. It's all televised. It's all recorded, all documented. Joints were tight. Didn't look like there were any low spots. They did say that they opened up this manhole up top and they saw 3 foot of surcharge there. And as they neared the end of this televising it, they did see some grease up in this area here as well. But, you know, the point is, up into where we're connecting with the new doghouse manhole, this is all in good condition. So lining this pipe will only improve it in that you have an existing clay line now with a roughness coefficient of about 0.013. And with the lining, that drastically smooths that pipe out to a roughness coefficient of about 0.09, which is, you know, almost as smooth as glass, basically. So that will only improve your flow conditions. And I think any problems you're having that line are upstream of where we're connecting, and that'll all be demolished and removed anyways. So, you know, that's where we're at now. And the goal was to, again, inspect and verify the condition of this line here down to Ruane.
So Joe, I have a question for you. I did review the footage. One of my questions is, from the doghouse manhole to the manhole in the back of the property where your cursor is now, it was very hard to see with the flow, the top of the pipe. They have to bypass that line, correct? When they put the doghouse in?
Correct.
All right, so, and I talked to Keith this morning, Keith Buda, who also works for Pereira Engineering. That line, once it's exposed, it's going to be cleaned with no flow going through it. There is a possibility at that point that we would be able to see if there's a sag in that pipe. It's almost impossible right now to tell with the camera footage, based on the, you know, with the flow in there. You made reference that that pipe was about 30 to 40% full. I'm thinking, and Bill Norton, you were there when they filmed it, but I'm thinking that pipe is almost probably 60% full. You know, and I don't know if it was done after a rain event, you know, but that pipe was pretty, you know, it was hard to see the top of that pipe through the camera footage, so.
Right. Yeah, so before they line a pipe, what they do is they flush and clean it, and then they televise it before they do anything.
Yeah, but if it's submerged, they're going to do the same kind of televising.
Was I the one?
I did too.
I think everybody went offline.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Okay.
This is Quinn. I think I'm back.
Yeah.
Where were we? Hey, Joe, it's Mark Ellison. Let me ask you, you know, I looked at the video. I'm aware that this pipe is, I don't know how many years old. Does anybody want to take a guess?
I believe it was put in 1947.
Yeah, 47.
Okay, so, geez, 73 years old. Is this a pipe that should be replaced?
Are you
At this
asking?
time, yes, probably. It's probably definitely seen its life expectancy. It's a clay tile pipe in 3-foot sections. You know, like I said before, it's very hard to tell if there's openings in the joints. I did notice, and I made reference on one of the footage, at minute 11:30, there is, you can see the top of the pipe, but you can also see infiltration coming in. So, you know, there are some spots on that, you know, in that pipe that we are getting infiltration.
And Chris Rogers, this is Joe Devanzo. Can you confirm, in a previous discussion, there were, I think you called it a dip or 2 dips in that pipe? Have we resolved what that was?
Well, it kind of reenacted the same scenario. So this line was cameraed once before, back in, I believe, 2014. I'd have to look back at the footage. It was now it was reconfirmed again that the pipe was underwater. The camera was underwater when they did this footage, but it's not. We cannot confirm that there is a dip in the pipe.
Okay, thank you.
Because there is too much flow in that line.
Thank you.
Now, just to give the commission an update, this pipe takes about 20 to 25% of the town's flow. So this is a trunk line that, you know, conveys quite a bit of flow through this property.
Mr. Cinto still on the line?
Yes, I'm still here.
Look, let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you prefer to have this pipe replaced now, prior to, you know, spending the tens of millions of dollars and putting a new development next to a pipe that at some point in the near future is likely going to need to be replaced?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you. In my opinion, lining the pipe is probably the best alternative right now. You know, if the lining works. I'm wondering if maybe, and I've been struggling with this myself, but if maybe the commission could come up with a time period where we say that we will go in and line the pipe at whatever cost lining the pipe would be. And if that lining does fail, we don't believe it would fail, but if it did fail, we would guarantee a certain amount of time on the guarantee of what that lining would be. And what that time is I can't say, the commission needs to say. I mean, I have my thoughts on what it would be, and it's not going to be a short period of time. Like people from Green Mountain were discussing 5 years or whatever it is. I understand it's not going to be 5 years because replacing the line would be a lot longer than that, obviously. It's been there for however many years, since 47. So, you know, in my opinion, lining the pipe is the most non-invasive solution towards the wetlands, the marsh, everything else that goes into this right now. And if that would work, I think that would be the best case for everybody. And if it wouldn't work, then we would guarantee that we'd go in and make it right, you know?
Matt.
Yep. What's the feasibility of running bypass now and doing a much better CCTV inspection where we can actually see the condition of the pipe? I mean, obviously, if it's running at roughly 60% flow, I mean, that's a lot of flow. But I'm not familiar with the area. Is it possible to run a bypass for the duration of the CCTV inspection so that we can get good visual data on it?
It would have to be a pretty big bypass operation.
Right, but I mean, that would still be cheaper than lining it, only to have the liner fail.
Rob, can you get back to access to this pipe afterwards?
Yes. Yes. I don't see the liner failing. To be honest with you, Commissioner, William, what would and Chris, what's your guys' fear of lining the pipe? What's?
I don't think there's any fear in lining the pipe. I think lining the pipe will make the pipe structurally sound for the next, 50, 60 years.
Yes.
But just lining it, I don't think takes care of the problem with the flow. It'll enhance the structural integrity of the pipe. Some of the flow will be better because of the flow value that Joe was alluded to, the C factor. But we still the like $64,000 question is, why is the water staying in the pipe? Why doesn't it empty out?
Okay, so
At this point, we can't prove that there's a dip in that pipe. So, and the plan does not show that it's on piles or anything. Our interpretation is that it was laid on the bed of the marsh, and at the time, now over time the marsh has settled, and now we have a dip in the pipe.
Do we know where that dip is? I mean, we're replacing a section of that pipe. We don't know whether or not we take care of that dip in our replacement or not. So I think in lining the pipe, I mean, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I think I'm asking the commission here is that we're willing to roll the dice and say that lining the pipe's the best thing for the wetlands and everything else going forward right now. If it does fail, we're willing to go back and fix it, right? But, we don't mind speculating the money, hoping that the lining does actually work. And we're free to put a time period on that to say that, however many years we would guarantee it. If it doesn't work, we'll fix it. That's what we're looking for.
I don't think our fear is that the pipe, the lining will fail as much as that there's a dip in the pipe. And at this point, I don't think we can confirm or, that there is a dip in the pipe or deny that there is a dip in the pipe. I think we need a little more investigating, like Matt proposed, do some bypass pumping or we'd have to, investigate this a little bit further to see if there is a dip in the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, but conceptually, if there's a dip in the pipe, doesn't that impact every flow that comes, through Fairfield through this pipe? I mean, this is a situation where the approval was given conditioned on the Sinto organization either making a contribution or lining the pipe. And it seems now that we're talking about the structural or the structural and support of the pipe and I think we're all struggling with what is our responsibility as a commission versus what is the developer responsible for, and that's where I am.
And this is Joe. I heard three different arguments here. One is lining the pipe. It sounds like it would be fine. The capacity in the pipe seems to be okay. And then the other issue is if there's a dip in the pipe, what kind of structural problems do we have going forward? Again, we had already given permission to Sinto to line the pipe. I think everything else needs to be investigated and somehow be solved.
Joe, can I just correct that? The developer originally came in, they proposed to contribute up to $100,000.
$100,000. But then they came back and we reapproved the lining of the pipe, didn't we?
No, it was not lining the pipe, it was replacing the pipe.
Oh, sorry. I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's quite similar to the conversation we had at the Metro Center.
Yes, it is. Right, the pipe's not on our property. We offered to replace it, and then we came back and asked to line it. Right. You're absolutely right. It was a contribution from us to the town in a process for the approval.
So Rob, are you now suggesting that instead that the offer is for you to line the pipe?
Yes, that's what we're looking for. Yes. We're asking the commission to try lining the pipe, and you know, if the lining doesn't work, then we'll go through the process of replacing it. We think the lining will work, and we're willing to put kind of years that we say that the lining of the pipe will. I think that's the best compromise. I don't, you know, I don't understand why the commission would have a problem with that, right?
Rob, this is Joe again. The only question I have, and it's not necessarily you, but the engineers in the room. What is the criteria that the lining worked or doesn't work?
Exactly.
Well, how do we know?
I believe a surge would happen.
I'm sorry?
I ask the engineers. I don't know. I should keep my mouth shut.
I think Joe is right. What is the definition of failure? And is failure if we line it and everything remains the same? Is that failure? Nothing's improved?
The other question I have is we don't know what the life expectancy is of this liner. I think we would want to get some more details and information as far as, you know, what the life expectancy is.
Yeah, no problem.
I think he had mentioned a contingency of years of guaranteeing a certain number of years, right?
Oh, whatever my guarantee is, whatever the liner guarantee would, you know, triple that. I know that
Okay.
so I'm fine with that. But yes, thank you.
Sorry, as a point of order or clarification, Mark, if I may.
Please.
Was this on the agenda as a discussion item?
No, it's to consider an act.
It is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up. Sorry. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, we've discussed this over multiple meetings over a few years.
No, I understand. I just I wanted to make sure I had the proper, just from an admin perspective. I was just curious. Thank you.
No problem.
As far as the life expectancy, I think Joe can talk to it too. Once you line a pipe, the life expectancy of the pipe is as good, if not better, than the existing pipe. Usually, you know, we're talking, 70 years. So I'm not sure Rob wants to go 3 times 70 years.
No, I meant like I would guarantee it for like 20 years, and it would last for 70. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I mean,
agree with you, Bill. Once you line the pipe, it's virtually a new pipe.
Yeah, it's basically you're losing half an inch of the pipe diameter, even if that, and you're putting in basically once it's cured, you're putting in a new PVC pipe.
Right. You lose a little bit of diameter if you make it up in the roughness coefficient.
Yes.
Right. The ASTM factor on it's like, steel. What I love about it is that you're not going through the wetlands and the marsh driving piles or whatever you're going to do to keep you're using the existing piles. The impact on the wetlands and the environment and everything else. Why not try it? It doesn't make sense to me. Why go through, rip up that marsh and everything else that's already been done and drive piles and frack that water? All the water that gets fracked out of there goes back and treated through the WPCA plants again. It just, why not try it is, our whole thing.
So is the only question whether or not there's a dip in the pipe? Is that ultimately what we're asking?
Joe, this is Joe Devanzo. To me, there's two questions on the table. The dip in the pipe is one of them, and the criteria, did the pipe fail, would be the other if we go with the lining. How do you know it's failed?
Yeah, I understand.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to define failure of pipes. I mean, one would be doing an inspection and actually identifying a structural defect or something. A sewer overflow or a backup, that's a failure. There's a lot of different ways to come up with a term to define failure.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. If this pipe's going to surge, the first guy's property it's going to surge onto is mine.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Yeah. Rob, is this something you need that you need this month, or is it something that we can digest and you can make a proposal in terms of the 3 or 4 components of what constitutes a failure and what guarantee in terms of number of years you're prepared to offer, and bring that back next month?
Yeah, Mark. I mean, I think, look, I'm easy like Sunday morning. I'm Lionel Richie over here. I don't mind doing that at all. I knew coming in here there was going to be one main question that I couldn't answer, and I want the commission to think about. And if you guys would be kind enough to let us take the approach to try to line the pipe, we will guarantee it. It's just how many.
I appreciate that. And,
I figured you guys all have about 6 years left on this commission. So what do we say? 7 years and we're good? No, I'm
I
kidding.
think I got it 3. Yeah, so we have some new blood. You'll be dealing with Matt.
I think that, in all honesty, I think what you guys have to consider is how long you want us to guarantee the liner of the pipe. So we'll look into the lifetime and everything. Whatever questions you have, me and Joe will do our best to run down and get them for you for next meeting. And hopefully next meeting we can come up with a amount of time to guarantee this liner and what you guys want to do and go from there.
We appreciate that.
So then do we make a new motion in terms of what under old business for C? Do we make a new motion or do we table the one as it exists to the date certain?
If I can interrupt,
Table it till date certain.
I always left this up to Joe.
Yeah.
That was a colon, Joe.
Yeah, it's Joe, Robert's Rules of Order, Divanzo.
Yes.
Yeah, I would make a motion to table this to a date certain. And I'm saying next meeting, I think we'll have all the information.
Thank you.
But the point being, with this change and doing this as it's a slightly different amendment or a slightly different proposal then, because we're being asked to do something more specific than what's in the amendment, or than what's in the
Yeah, so it'll be an amended approval next January.
So
we're actually just trying to approve the lining of the 160 feet. I mean, we're adding conditions to it. That's not a change to the motion, I don't think. But now we're just arguing.
So then we table it. Well, I will move to table it to a date certain, which is our next meeting. And I'll have to look it up unless someone has it off the top of their head. January
the 20th.
Don't put a date on it. Let's just table it to our next meeting.
There you go.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Because we moved this one up.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
So yeah.
I'll second it.
I thought you made it. Who seconded?
No, I made the motion.
Nancy did. Okay, Nancy's motion, Joe's second, all in favor?
Aye.
Seems to be unanimous from what I can tell.
And as long as we're on the topic of admin on a different subject, the last discussion was to hear, I know we made the motion and it carried, but according to the agenda, it was just to discuss. Do we need to, Joe, for purposes of making this all right, do we need to amend the agenda, or it's okay to make a motion without that?
Technically, no, I think we're good. Let's just go.
Okay. I just
you're right.
Don't want to get in trouble for
on
a technicality.
Rob and Joe, thank you. Happy holidays.
Oh, yes,
Happy
thank you.
holidays.
Sorry. Happy
Stay well.
holidays.
Yes, happy holidays, guys.
Okay. Prior to the update on the sewer bypass, we have the update on the current projects. It's good to see everyone's back on the screen. Joe and I'm sorry, Bill and Chris, why don't you bring us all up to speed on all the various projects you have underway?
Mark, can you just spend 1 minute just giving an overview to Matt about what these bypasses represent? Matt, on your
Sorry,
on the bypass?
I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah. Just what they are.
Bypasses are okay. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, number one, we have the Mill River Pump Station generator. It's a new gas-powered generator. We have a FEMA grant for it. The project has been, it's about 99% complete. We're just waiting for the gas meter to be installed. The gas line was installed yesterday. All the electrical work has been completed to date. Then there is a switchover period, and from the diesel to the gas generator. So that project is, 99% complete. The wastewater treatment plant generator, the foundation walls have been poured, the electrical conduit has been installed. The grant that we have expires December 31st. We're not sure if we're going to make the grant deadline, but all the paperwork will be submitted before that deadline. So we should get reimbursed for whatever we have, outgoing until that point. The hardening project, Bill can weigh in on as well on this. There's been environmental testing that has been done and continues to be done. Ground improvements have started on one half of the roadway. We're waiting for UI to transfer the lines, the electric lines on one side of the road to the other side, which has been done. There's other utilities that on the poles that have to be transferred. Once those are done, then the rest of the ground improvements can be done. The problem we're running into is that the asphalt plants are closing, and they have to reopen the road down there, so we will not have asphalt to repave the road. So this project might be on hold until spring, depending if we can get this, this done.
Chris,
the pump stations are supposed to be delivered. Yes, go ahead.
After you finish this thought, could you just go back to the last point you made? I got a question for you, but finish this one.
Sure. Yep. The pump station is supposed to be delivered this week. Bill, I don't know. Can you confirm, has that been done or?
No, that's been pushed because of the dewatering system to remove the PCBs in the water didn't start on time, so it was pushed back. So we're probably looking at the pump station next Tuesday or Wednesday. The precast foundations being and the walls being delivered probably mid next week.
Yep. Okay, and then the next point was that the dewatering has started behind the conservation workshop. So that's the area of concentration right now that they're working on for the new pump station. So Joe, we can go back to that.
Okay. I got a question on the Harding project. The contingency that we still have is still good. I know there are about 12 change orders so far in the project, but we're still covered with the contingency on the project.
There's very little left in the contingency.
Okay, thank you. The one before it, you talked about the grant ends on 12/31.
Yep.
You filed the paperwork with the state.
Correct.
I just want to make sure you just tell the commission that we file paperwork before we finish the project.
Yes.
What completion date do we have on that paperwork that we're filing?
I don't know off the top of my head what the completion date is. So,
but it doesn't sound like we're going to make it.
It
doesn't sound like we're going to make the completion date.
We're hoping to make the substantial completion. Everything's in place. The problem is we've got to do some more testing on the soil. So,
okay, Bill, the reason I'm asking, I just heard you just told all the commissions that you may not finish the project, but you filed paperwork with the state prior to finishing the project. I'm not sure that we want to hear that.
Yeah, I think we'll fire the appropriate paperwork to that point of the
Appropriate
project.
paperwork.
Okay, make sure
Point of the
those
project.
dates conform to what is real.
Correct.
Right.
Thank
Whatever
you.
work is performed that will represent the
Whatever
dates
work
that
is
are,
Thank you.
that
Thank
are,
you.
Up to that point. Now, the generator is on site, so, you know, that is the majority of the project, or, you know, the project, so.
Right.
Any other
I'll be
questions on
quiet,
that?
Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Item D, the status update on Eastern Turnpike Pump Station. UI has approved the plans for the relocating of the duct bank. As you know, we came across a duct bank through the middle of the property. So that work is supposed to begin very soon, within the next couple of days. The contractor is on site. They're excavating out the wet well in the valve vault now. The generator has been relocated on the property, making room for, you know, this work to be done. Their soil was tested and they came across DDT, which is a pesticide, and PAH. The soil can be relocated on site. So that's our hope. Once the building is demolished, the wet well, we can relocate all this soil on site and above the water table. So, you know, this will, you know, save us on having to remove the soil from the site. The blasting was done on the site for the wet well and the valve vault. That's now being excavated. And there was a new bypass manhole that was installed, making way for the new pumps.
Quick question, Chris. When you move that soil on the other Sacred Heart property, have we notified them that we are doing that and what's in that soil, and we're sending it over to the other side of their property?
Yes.
We got that documented.
I'm sorry?
It's in writing. They know we're going to move it over
I
there.
believe, yes, it was documented by Ty and Bond for them.
Thank you.
Yes. Next item. Item E is the Eastern Turnpike Force Main. I have it on here as 450 feet of force main has been moved, or left to install, sorry. They have actually 40 feet left to do, which they'll finish tomorrow on that. So DOT has approved the paving for the spring to be done. The contractor broke the force main twice while they were installing the pump. There was a small bypass, which we'll get to in the in the next section. It was a quick, once I arrived on site, they had the water, the flow going on the grass. I told them, put it in the manhole. They quickly moved the pipe and put it in the manhole. So there was very little discharge for the bypass. The item F, status update for the East Trunk Interceptor. The part A and B of the third-party review, and I thought Dennis was going to join us. I don't see him on the call or not. But the third-party review has been done for the item B, A and B. They were supposed to give an update on it, and I don't know if Mark Barnhart is on as well. But there was some questions regarding the grant that we have for the $750,000. Mark, are you on? Yeah.
Oh, there.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
What was the question? Sorry, Chris.
The commission had some questions regarding the $250,000 grant from the project.
750.
Sorry, $750,000.
Don't lose $500,000. We need that money. So this grant was secured back in 2016. We've done 2 extensions of the time. We can request a third. The current grant period that's been approved by DECD expires at the end of this month. So I do need to provide an update, project update, and also request a time extension. And I guess the issue for me is, what am I telling them? The last report that I provided, which was almost a year ago, indicated that we were 95% complete with design. We intended to put the project out to bid and be under construction earlier this year. Clearly, the cost, the estimated probable cost from the engineer exceeded our expectations and the available funding, and we've now confirmed that number appears to be correct, or at least it seems like we don't have sufficient funding to do the project as currently envisioned. But I think it's pretty easy to ask for to request an extension. Typically, those are granted. At some point, the DCD or other state agencies lose patience, but I think under the circumstances, we can probably request some additional time. It's just, what's the direction? Are we going to proceed with this, a smaller, scaled down version of this project that might work within the funding limits? Understanding, of course, I gather that this line does have to be replaced at some point, preferably in the near future. So, I don't know.
Nancy.
Yeah, I'm just referring back to the notes from the conversation that Joe we had and Mark that we had with Chris a couple of weeks ago. So I may be confusing something here, but Mark, I think there was some question about being able to apply some of these funds to monies already spent, or to put it retroactively. Am I making that up, Mark and Joe or Chris, from our conversation that we were going to look into if there was like some flexibility in how we could apply some of this grant money to apply it to money we've already spent?
The grant only covers construction costs. So
Okay.
It was envisioned that we would cover the engineering costs on our own, and a portion of the construction costs, and the $750,000 would go towards construction.
So
none of what we've done could be
think,
deemed.
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think they'll go back retroactively and approve a project and say, okay, now the money you already spent, we'll pay for it. So if we had come to them maybe earlier before the money was spent, then possible that might be possible. But we did ask for monies to construct the project.
Sure. Mark, if I were to soundbite this, it would be the town has learned quite a bit about soil over the last year or two. Soil testing, soil borings, and we haven't done them here. And I think we've learned a thing or two, and that we need to sample and test the soil. That is first and foremost. It wasn't done. It should be a checkbox on any project the town does going forward. Check the soil first. We need to do that, and we brought in a third party to see if they could value engineer the project. So, in my opinion, it's full steam ahead. This is a project that needs to get done, must get done. There's a lot of I&I in that area that we're processing at the plant that we need to get out. We need to get this in to support all the development that's to take place around the Metro Center. We thought it would be prudent to take a step back, bring in a third party to review the plan. That's what's been done. And we have some, I would say, limited optionality in front of us that feels like we should make a decision on in January or February.
Okay, I think from that, and my understanding too, in terms of if we do some additional environmental investigation to determine what we're working with, and we have a plan of action going forward to bid this project, it's at least a year, right, for construction. So I'm going to ask for a 2-year extension if I can, to bring us out 2022 to complete this work. Does that make sense?
So I'm not too familiar with the project. So it sounds like just everything I've heard, design was complete. It went out to bid. Construction costs came in way high, and now we've valued engineered it, and we're redesigning. or we're ready to go back out to.
What we have, and it's entitled kind of option B on the material that was presented.
Okay.
We asked for some other options. We effectively said, look, this is a half a mile bypass. It's going to cost $7 million. That's astronomical. Are there any other options relative to pump stations, some just creative optionality? Would love for you to take a look at that document. And make sure that we're not overlooking something. Is there a better route? Is there, once we start, then that optionality is gone. But it may be a $7 million project. In fact, it's looking more and more like a $7 or $8 million project. Big Joe, up, 9 maybe. But we think we have a pretty porous pipe over there, and along Ash Creek. So that's kind of the project in a snapshot. We'll get Dennis. Wright Pierce was retained to review the Cardinal engineering plan. That's a document that's in the file folder, and we'll have them in for the January meeting to walk us through that.
Okay. Thanks for the recap.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, does 2 years seem reasonable based on where we are? I think they're looking for when we would expect to complete the project with all the necessary due diligence and review.
Yeah.
If we started now, that would seem like, to me, the best possible scenario is probably 2 years from now, right?
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I would probably say that would be a good estimate.
Well, I'll start with that, and we'll see how much rope they give us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark, thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Next item.
Yeah.
Keep going,
Next
Chris.
item?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, the status on the Riverside Drive siphon. We have 90% bid documents reviewed. They're being reviewed by Time Bond, and they're going to review the comments that we've made. I think, Bill, you and Brian had met with them, correct? And went over.
Yeah, actually, Laura Pulley and Bill Hurley and I met with Time Bond to go over that project. I basically were just looking at the siphon portion of it, and they were looking at the whole project for the tidal gates and the bridge replacement. So they were at 90%. They took our comments back, and then they're going to incorporate them into their design documents, and then we'll go from there.
And Chris, I understand we were piggybacking, you had said in our earlier meeting with conservation. And that's still all fine.
To be honest, I don't know what the status is with that right now. That might be on hold for a little while. I don't have an answer as far as what the status is. You are correct. It was going through conservation, but I don't know what the status is as far as what where that stands. Now that might hold up this project as well, so it might delay it a little bit.
But Chris, then again, this project doesn't have any grant money or any deadlines from our point of view.
No.
Right.
No. All right, next item, H, WPCA outfall. GHD submitted the revised plans for the bid. Like I explained before, the work needs to be completed by June 30th, 2021 for the grant. That's when the grant was extended to. I don't see it being a problem getting the extension for it. Item I, the East Trunk Wetlands Crossing from the Metro Center. We received the RFP. There were 4 responses for the proposal. We're going to interview the clients and see what, what they have to say, make a suggestion. J, the wastewater treatment plant. We received the engineering agreement approval from DEEP, as we explained before. K, there is no update on the East Trunk Interceptor sewer relocation. That's the upper East Trunk. L, there's the microgrid. There was environmental testing that's been done. Remediation will need to be done in order for the project to start. Bill, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this and give them an update. We went over some information today.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's looked in their packet. I think, Chris, did you put it in yesterday?
I did put it in today. I put it in. So.
Oh, today. There's two tie and bond reports that were submitted, as Chris said today. One was for the microgrid project for tie and bond to do environmental oversight for removal of the soil, contaminated soil. Matt, it's the soil's contaminated with PCBs. So there's a whole bunch of, there's a litany of hoops you have to jump through to make sure that it gets disposed of properly. So that's gone over now into the microgrid project. So there's going to be some additional funding needed for that. And then also the second tie and bond report is for the vent generator at the treatment plant. And that is for the trench that has to be dug from the gate to the generator to run the gas line. And what has to be done, there has to be environmental testing, because as Mark alluded to before, any project that goes by now needs a checkbox for soil analysis. So what's proposed by Tie and Bond is 400 feet of testing, 3 tests at 20-foot intervals. And so that I think I have it in front of me right now. What was that one for? Was that the 15,100, Chris?
No, the 15,100 is for the gas. No, sorry, the microgrid.
Okay, and then the 14.6 is for the
for the gas line.
For the gas line for the analysis. So, and as you said, Joe, we need to have this project completed by the end of the month. So we're under the gun to get the funding to get this done. They're supposed to come in on Monday and start this. So.
So do you need the commission to approve money?
We're going to, yes, we would like that to approve both of these tie and bond if you've had an opportunity to look at them, obviously.
But it's not on the agenda. Did you need it tonight?
The quicker the better. I think either that or I'd have to try to find some money through the operating budget, and we've already expended this money for the hardening project out of my operating budget, and I'm a little leery with 6 months in the year to go with expending any more money.
We screwed that up. That should have been on this agenda for us to vote on it.
Well, we didn't get to see it until.
This just came in today.
Yeah. My suggestion, if you can pay it out of operating and we put it on the agenda, I can't commit to the other commissioners, but we can approve it at the next meeting. It sounds like $30,000 or so.
Correct.
15,
Less.
30. Little, all right, roughly.
Yep. I won't hold you to it.
Yeah, plus with the building of PCBs and everything else in the ground, you probably have more anyway.
Now, this is testing number one on the gas line. This is just testing, so we don't know what we're going to find and how much it's going to be to dispose of. And it's the same as we're probably going to ask Holzner, who's been doing all of the excavation for the hardening project, to give us a price on getting rid of both the soils for the microgrid project and the gas line.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask the question again. Can't we simply carry the dirt over to the pile that they're already taking off site? I mean, they'll charge us for it. I don't want to,
Well, I think that's what the strategy is going to be.
Okay, good. Okay.
Now it's just a matter of where we decide we're going to fund it from. We're going to give it the change order to the hardening project? Or is it going to be a, change order to the microgrid project, or is it going to be, there's no more funding available for the generator, so.
Yeah, both of those come back to us anyway, right? Microgrid and the generator is both ours.
I
Yes.
think all three would have to come back to us.
Yeah. If you could, I mean, I can't talk to you taking out of your operating, and then we reimburse.
Okay.
I can't make that commitment.
But again, yeah, so I don't, I can take a look at it, at least doing the one for the gas trench, because that's the most critical right now. That's where that stands right now with the microgrid project.
So Bill, is that a workable solution to pay it out of a line item you have and bring it back in January for approval? I know it's suboptimal, but.
Oh well, I guess it's the best way to proceed right now, I guess, is what I'm saying. And now that, obviously everybody's aware of it, now they can go back and look at those reports and see exactly what's going to be incurred. These are both to not exceed proposals.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like they're in the file folder with dates of 12/8 and 12/9 for those who were looking for them.
And again, like I said,
we'll bring those forward in January for formal approval.
Yeah, these, like I said, these are do not exceed. So hopefully it doesn't come to that level, and we're a little cheaper than what they proposed. But we've all seen that before.
We might give you a little contingency on that.
Yeah, we know how that story ends.
I think there's a contingency built in by Ty and Bond. They were looking at, basically they're looking at doing 60 samples, and they put in for 75. So
right. Every 3 feet, they want to do it every 3 feet.
Okay.
No, they want to do 3 samples every 20 feet.
Okay, let's keep going. What's next?
All right, the M pipe reduction in Stratfield Road, there's no update on. The Umpqua Road 8-inch pipe crossing, we heard that tonight. And the corrosive pipe replacement at Mill River Pump Station, this was addressed before. Wright Pierce did the investigation, and there was a dehumidifier installed. Bill, I don't know if you have any more to add to that.
It's been a non-issue right now. It's very dry down there, so we've been fortunate. Obviously we're in the time of the year where you're not talking about a lot of humidity, but the dehumidifier did work quite well. So I don't think we're in any critical position, but obviously we wanted to bring it to the commission's knowledge that if we've got to replace $100,000 worth of pipe, and then we're going to replace the pump station in 2 years, where's the cost effectiveness?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, you got one more item on the agenda.
Yeah. The sewer bypass that Chris touched on relative to the Sacred Heart project.
Yeah, I think Chris alluded to it pretty well. They were out there and they were digging right next to the force main, and they nicked it with the tooth of the excavator. First one, they put a pretty good gash in, and like Chris said, by the time he got there, they had their sump in the hole and was just pouring out onto the pavement rather than into the gravity manhole, which was 20 feet away, which would have created any bypass.
How do you fix that? It's probably not duct tape, right?
They actually have a clamp. It's about a foot long, and the diameter of the pipe, which was what's the diameter of that pipe, Chris? 8-inch or
6-inch?
6-inch. And what they do, it's called an Adams clamp, and they throw it around it, and they got bolts, and they bolt it down, and it's like basically a banding clamp. And it's probably stainless steel, so it's good forever.
Well,
And then 3 days later, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
You might want to change operators.
And then they, I told this to the contractor. He had one guy in there that was basically just eating sewage. He was just down there
yeah.
getting that clamp
That was
on.
unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. He doesn't pay that kid enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he was covered, you know.
And the second bypass, they didn't have any issues. We did need to shut down the pump station because it was the force main that they hit. So we had a couple septic haulers the first time. Second time they had it repaired, we didn't even need them. So they did have an additional clamp on site ready to go in case it did happen, which it did. So the second time, probably they were done within probably an hour and a half. First one probably took about 2.5 hours.
Okay. Hey, let me be as we're wrapping up on behalf of the commission, Chris and Bill. It's been a hell of a year. A lot of change in the department. You've done a phenomenal job in managing the facility and these projects. I often call Chris, and he's out in the field. Thank you for what you do, and do so well.
Now, thank you guys for all your support.
Thank you. And the chain of communication, echo that thanks. The chain of communication with the town, that's been working smoothly. You've had a good line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's hope for a few months of stability, right?
Please.
Yeah.
Did I miss the portion of the meeting? And I'm sorry, I was on the capital planning workshop that I had to check into and will now turn back to, where you voted on officers.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Well, I just wanted to show my public support for all of you and to thank all of you for all the work.
Yes. Chairwoman Lefkowitz.
Yes, believe me. You definitely want the modern European history major and the entertainment industry executive to take charge of this work. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for your commitment to service this year. It's been a lot of work, a lot of effort. Matt, welcome. Hopefully you can get down and visit with Bill.
Matt, you're like a rock star in
And Chris,
WPCA
and we'll
world.
see some projects, and hopefully we can take some momentum into 202021.
Happy holidays to everybody. and
Amen.
Stay safe.
Happy holidays.
All right,
Happy
stay,
holidays.
be well,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Yes.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy holidays.